From a performance of the night spinning wheel kick knockout against an 18-fight UFC veteran on a pay-per-view card, performance of the night, you heard me say that right. Chris Barnett Beastboy is now drawing a Dana White's Contender Series debutante on the undercard of a Fight Night card that's relatively weak. And it is kind of crazy to see that for Chris Barnett because UFC matchmakers are probably sitting there going, geez, I don't know what this guy's ceiling is at this point. I mean, Bleacher Report in 2014 said this was the heavyweight prospect to watch to break through. But that was 2014, now we're 2022. And for Barnett, he takes a short notice UFC debut. He was already getting ready for a fight against Brett Martin. And he ends up with Ben Rothwell, who had a fight book, but now he's not in the UFC anymore. And in that fight, Chris Barnett gets taken down, but he pops right back up at the end of the first round. So you're feeling good. You're excited about Chris Barnett. Now we're going to get to see that exciting Beast Boy that we knew and loved from all of the different organizations he had competed with in the past. But the second round starts, and he's got less bounce in his step, and he really slows down. And Ben Rothwell gets his signature go-go choke. So for Chris Barnett, he shares something in common with what? Josh Barnett? Like, is that kind of it? Go-go choke? But if you look at it for Barnett, comes out against Jean Vellante, and, well, Jean's run at heavyweight just wasn't all that great. So a big win for Chris Barnett, nonetheless. He's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's taken on Slovakia's second UFC fighter. The first one was, of course, Martin Buday's teammate in Leavitt Klein. And for Buday, that's how you go with it on the last name. It's like Peter Buday that used to play for Colorado or for the Montreal Canadiens. And for Buday, if you just go back and you look at some of these fights that he's had in the past, he's taken on Lorenzo Hood over on Dana White's Contender Series. He's a minus 400 favorite, and he does what a minus 400 favorite should do. Now, I will say, Lorenzo Hood offered him a little bit of resistance up against that cage at one point. Buday, a little bit of blood on the face, but overall, Buday pulls off a big-time impressive win. But Matt, I watched a lot of Martin Buday, and there was one performance that I found to be a little bit of an outlier. It was the fight for the Octagon title before he went on Dana White's Contender Series, and it was uncharacteristically Buday. So I don't know if you saw the same thing when you were doing your tape study, but for me, this guy is a very, very technical heavyweight, and sometimes it's heavy to beat technique when it comes to this level in this division.
It really is. How many times do we sit here and say, this heavyweight fighter is going to win because they have a lot of power? All the time, because that's what the majority of fighters at this weight class have to rely on. And I'll just get my piece on Chris Barnett really quick. We can be very honest about what his skill set is because we kind of know all about it. There's not a lot of secrets when you're fighting someone like Chris Barnett. And I know that's a weird thing to say because he is so explosive and he does a lot of unknown things. But I'm just throwing all the unknowns into one category. If you just watch out for the kind of wildness of him in the first 3 minutes of a fight, it makes the other 12 minutes so much easier, it's not even funny. Like, for Chris Barnett, someone like Stipe Miocic would be the hardest matchup in the world for him. Just anybody with any level of steadiness to their game, because that's exactly what Ben Rothwell offered him, and he did struggle with that. And when you look at Martin Buday, it's not difficult to see a younger, maybe even a more aggressive, maybe even a Ben Rothwell with a little bit more punching power. Now, he doesn't have the unique chokes of Rothwell. No one really does. Physically, Ben Rothwell's built like Tyson Fury. He even sometimes has the personality of it. But Ben Rothwell, people forget just how good he was back in his prime. And I do think it's really interesting that they're giving Buday Barnett when Rothwell was Barnett's introduction to the UFC, because I really do think Buday and Rothwell do have some similarities between their games. They are both huge for this weight class. I know heavyweight, everybody's pretty big, but physically, Buday really is going to stand out as being one of the better athletes in this weight class. And against someone like Barnett, who honestly sizes up against a lot of middleweights. I know he's a thicker guy and he moves around
Used to be a super heavyweight. It's crazy.
But you look at him and you look at someone like Paulo Costa. If they stood next to each other, Paulo might even look a little bit bigger than him, and I really do think that the size and the steadiness of Buday is going to give Barnett a lot of troubles. Buday is someone who can stick behind the jab. He will stand very upright, and this is the thing I don't necessarily like about him. He does eat quite a few leg kicks, and I do think that's something that is going to be a really big problem for him in the future, because we both know what's coming up if he beats Chris Barnett.
No, it's
the Andre Arlovsky skill check will eventually be on its way one day or another.
This is going to be the fight where it actually pays out. Chris Barnett is a huge leg kicker. They're thunderous, they're powerful, and Martin Buday doesn't check them at all. And that's a huge red flag. Like a giant red flag.
He does have huge legs, though. I'll give him that. He can definitely eat more than I can, but it's not a good sign.
Early storm for Chris Barnett, kind of. But, I mean, again, go back and watch this fight against Jean Vellante. He was able to go through the first round. And in the second round, it's where he's really finding his groove, starting to hit his mark, and he's able to get the finish. So, again, I'm not totally sold on that. But what I will say about Buday, and this is the performance that I went back to, because you can go back, you can watch all the Octagon performances. They're all out there. You can find a lot of tape on Martin Buday. Level of competition, not that great. I mean, from the debut, takes on Ono, that's fine. Takes on my guy Juan Espino in the Spanish regional scene in 2017. My guy, Juan, where are you at? Fight every weekend. I love Juan Espino. Then he takes on 1-2, 2-5, 1-4, 21-17. Those are sketchy records once you get there. 1-0, 5-3. And then he takes on 7-1 Camille Minda over in Octagon 25. And I wrote copious notes for that fight, but I will spare you the boring details. First round, Buday loses it. Camille Minda pushing a pace, working behind a jab, throwing his leg kick, working his overhand right. And it kind of, you know, not busted up Buday, but he was able to do great work. But then, oh, by the way, Camille Minda was a couple weeks away from his 36th birthday. And in the second round, his cardio kind of waned a little bit. And that was when you were able to see Buday take over. And he's able to go out there. He's able to get the finish. But what I will say, it kind of reminded me of when Alexander Emelianenko took on Eddie Bankson. Where it was like, what even finished that fight? I don't understand. Because you watch it, Martin Buday, no word of a lie, hits him with a jab.
You gotta stop doing that.
And then all of a sudden, Camille Minda, like, closes this eye, so you can't, and I thought it was an eye poke, to be completely honest with everybody. He kind of starts to blink, and then there's another jab, and he just kind of falls backwards, and that's the end of the fight. So it was a really, really weird end to a fight that Buday was losing until he won it. So I just wanted to throw that one out there, because other than that, it's been a lot of clinch up, it's been a lot of takedowns, and the thing that I love out of Buday is he'll work that upper body, and then he drops levels and gets that double leg really, really well. So it's one of those things that I like to see out of him. He's a very, very technical heavyweight, and when he fights in his own pace, he does great work. So if we have a look at the odds for this one, Barnett opened a plus 120s, plus 170 at this point. Martin Buday opened a minus 140s, minus 210. We have a look at the Tapology votes. Surprised us, they are to you. I'm going to say 55% Beastboy, over and under.
I think Buday by 70%.
Ooh, look at that. 571 total votes, 63% Buday, 74% by knockout. For the 37% that have Barnett, it is 81% by knockout. So a lot of people seeing the knockout here, Matt. We've laid out a plan for one guy, maybe not as much for the other. We haven't been so down the middle this week, but this is one of those matchups where Chris Barnett can get one of those wild knockouts. I'm eager to see the Teddy Atlas water in the basement with the leg kicks early from Barnett if we do see that, but this should be an interesting fight for unranked heavyweights here.
I do believe, though, stylistically, it's a bad one for Barnett. Yes, he does have leg kicks, but if he starts throwing a lot of leg kicks, those are going to sap his own energy a lot faster, and that's going to hurt him get one of those highlight reel KOs later on. That's the thing, too. I'm pretty excited about the Jean Vellante knockout. He knocked out Jean Vellante at heavyweight, though.
The retirement fight.
Exactly. That doesn't mean all that much. Jean Vellante barely made the heavyweight limit in that fight, and this is a guy who used to weigh in at 205. So I don't put all that much stock into that performance. It just sort of reinforced what we already knew about Barnett, and that is he can throw these crazy strikes. If they do land, they have great effect. I just don't think he's going to have that chance against someone like Buday, who does have the wrestling advantage, and I do think he will have the cardio advantage, especially if he can keep at a maintained pace. Avoid that brawl, especially early on when Barnett's got all of his power, but I do think as this fight progresses, the steadiness of Buday will take over.
And I've seen it out of Rothwell against Barnett. I've seen it for Buday against Dietrich over with Octagon 14. Similar game plan. Into the clinch, wears on him for a couple minutes, drops levels, gets a takedown, and he's able to get the finish win. So both of us in this fight going with Slovakia's Martin Buday. It's Badys is the nickname. You let us know who you have in this fight. Do you have Beastboy? Do you have Buday? And a big time card coming up. We've got Mounir Lazzez taking on Eliseu Zaleski dos Santos. That's an amazing one. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.